Now, if you're listening during your deliberations, you're listening to an audio and you wish to have a transcript, all you have to do is ask for it. One will be given to you to help you understand the audio and then retrieved as we've done here in court. This time the people rest.
Yes, sir.
People may call, or strike that, the defense may call their next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense calls Anna Larson. Right there, ma'am. If you could face me and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give of the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Can you please have a seat where you stand? And for the record, say and spell your first and last name, please.
My name is Anna, A-N-N-A, Crescentini, C-R-E-S-C-E-N-T-I-N-I.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Larson.
Good afternoon.
Larson or Crescentini?
Crescentini is my maiden name. Larson is my married name.
What do you want to be noted by? What do you want to be called?
My legal documents say Crescentini.
Okay, proceed.
Ms. Crescentini, did you fly in from Canada a few days ago to Los Angeles in order to testify in this trial?
I flew in on February 23rd in order to testify and be supportive for my sister and her girls.
Can you tell me, I think you just did, but your relationship, you are Monica Sementilli's sister?
Correct.
Are you her older sister, and by how many years?
Yes, I am the oldest sister. I am 2.5 years older than her.
And where did you and Monica grow up?
We grew up just outside of Toronto, and then we moved to a little north of Toronto to Woodbridge, where we grew up in our family home with my mom and dad and my younger sister.
And your younger sister is how much younger?
She's 10 years younger than me.
I want to bring you back to 2016, the year before your brother-in-law Fabio was murdered. In 2016, ma'am, were you describe for us your relationship with Monica, your sister. Did you have a relationship?
Yes, we were
Monica?
very close. We grew much closer when we got married and had kids. We spent most of our days together when she lived in Canada. And when she moved to California, I was devastated, as well as my mom. We were so sad. And I kept in touch with her. We talked every day, sometimes three times a day. I would go on vacations. All my vacations were to LA to visit and stay with my sister and the girls and Fab. Fab was very close to our family as well. Like I said, when they were in Canada, we spent almost every day together.
And prior to 2016, well, let me start with this. 2016, Monica and Fabio and their girls had already moved to Canada, from Canada to Los Angeles?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Did you know of Fabio before he married Monica?
I knew when they started dating. I met him. That's the first time I met him. I saw him around because my sister worked at a clothing store next to their salon. So I would see him, but I didn't know who he was until Monica later on told me that this is her boyfriend, and we started to go on double dates together.
Okay. At the time you first met Fabio, was he already separated from his former wife?
Yes, that's what we were told by Fabio and Monica, that he was separated and divorcing his wife.
And at some point, did you learn that Fabio and Monica were getting married?
Yes, We learned he came over, asked my dad permission, and proposed, and we were very happy.
Did your family accept Fabio into the family with any issues because he had been a divorced man?
No, there were no issues. Obviously, that's because he had a son and an ex-wife. My mom especially and I talked to Monica and said, it's going to be a little difficult, it'll be a little different, but we love him, and that was it. And we accepted him from day one as my brother, my mom as a son.
Was there any problem created that you observed between Monica and your family because Fabio was divorced?
None.
And you were close at that time with the other members of your family, your parents, your sister?
Very close.
Can you tell us about what you observed at the time Monica and Fabio got married about their relationship, how they interacted? Did you have an opportunity to observe that?
Yes. They seemed extremely happy when they were preparing for their marriage, after they were married. They seemed very happy. I've never seen them argue. When we went on a few double dates, I know Fabio had a very jealousy issue. So many times we were actually thrown out of bars and clubs because he would get into arguments or physical fights with other people there because of comments they made about my sister or things like that. But I just thought he was a jealous guy. That was it. And
do you remember a specific instance after they were married where Fabio expressed that he was jealous?
yes, there was one time when we came to LA on vacation, and we went out for dinner in LA, and then we went to a cigar lounge, and a gentleman sitting behind us was smoking a cigar, didn't have an ashtray, and turned to Monica and asked to borrow the ashtray, which Monica handed to him. And then Fab immediately turned to him and said, get up and get your own ashtray, leave my wife alone, kind of thing. And you can tell he was very upset because he thought that the gentleman was looking at his wife, my sister.
Other than that experience, did you ever have any other experience with Fabio being angry or in conflict with each other?
Never.
Any other person?
No.
And at the point Monica and Fabio moved to California with their girls, did you continue to have a close relationship with both Monica and Fabio?
Yes, I did.
How often would you actually see Monica and Fabio?
Well, like I said, anytime I had time off work, I would fly to LA, me and my family, my husband, sometimes me and my kids, sometimes me and a girlfriend would go. Monica and Fabio came often to Canada. We would see each other at least during the summer, every Christmas, perhaps even March break sometimes. So we were together quite a bit. We saw each other quite a bit.
Did you also get to know Fabio's family?
Yes.
Were you close with Fabio's family?
We were close, especially with Luigi. He was always welcome into our home. We spent many vacations together with Luigi. We went to Italy with Luigi. Luigi would be invited for Christmas dinners at my parents' house, birthday dinners at my parents' house. And we were very close with his mom and Dave, her husband. And they were very close to my kids as well.
How about Fabio's sister Morella? Before or at the time, near the time Fabio and Monica and their girls moved to Los Angeles, did you spend any significant time with Morella?
I was close with Morella. We had a good relationship, I thought. She was very kind with me. I was very kind to her. She would invite me to her house to swim by the pool when Monica was in town, and we'd have dinners together. And I did the same. She came to a few of my house parties and pool parties. So we had a pretty decent relationship. I don't know if you would call it significant. It's not someone that I would pick up the phone and call unless my sister and Fab were here.
And when you say we're here, meaning in Canada?
In Canada,
okay.
yeah.
And after Fabio and Monica moved to California, did you continue to see them as much as you'd seen them in Canada?
Well, no, because when they lived in Canada, like I said, we saw each other almost every day. At least my sister and I and our kids were together almost every day. Our kids went to the same school. We went to my mom's house 3 times, maybe 4 times a week for dinner, the whole family. And Fabio obviously was there as well, unless he was traveling.
Okay. And let's bring ourselves to 2016, the year before Fabio was murdered. How often do you think you were personally with Fabio and Monica to observe them together in 2016?
In 2016, they came for Christmas. I went there in March break. I believe they came in the summer. And then I went and spent Christmas with my family at their house. 2016 Christmas holidays, New Year's for 2017.
Okay. And during those trips, when you started with Christmas, you mean Christmas 2015 and then into 16, the spring?
Oh, I was talking 2016, 2016 Christmas up until 15 and 16. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the last time you spent with them, you came for Christmas of 2016, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's talk about Christmas 2016. You came to Los Angeles with other family members?
Yes, my husband and my 3 children. We came on Boxing Day, I believe, the 26th or the 27th, because we spent Christmas with my mom and dad.
And you stayed through that next week? How long did you stay?
I stayed all through New Year's until I believe it was January 6th, because I had to go back to work. I'm a teacher, so I just went for the 2 weeks of Christmas holiday.
How long have you been a teacher?
Since 1994.
Who do you teach?
Oh, I teach 8th grade, science and math.
Have you always?
Always taught 8th grade.
8th grade, and always science and math?
Always science. Well, I teach everything, but science and math are my specialties.
I see. And when you arrived in California for, it looks like you said the 26th, the 27th through the 6th of January, did you stay with Monica and Fabio?
Yes, we always stayed at their house. And when they traveled to Toronto, they always stayed at my parents' house. And even if Fab traveled on his own, he always would stay with my parents.
How often would you see Fabio when he was in Canada alone for traveling for business?
Well, when I knew he was coming and he was staying at my parents' house, we would make a point to go there for dinner. My mom tried to keep all of us together all the time, which was beautiful.
And did you say he would stay with you, not
No, he would stay with my mom and dad.
your mom and dad?
Yes.
Monica's mom and dad, your mom and dad?
Correct.
Would that be consistent that he would stay with your mom and dad, or did he stay also with his family ever?
I don't ever remember him staying with his family. He would go visit them and spend the day with them, but to sleep, he would always come back to my parents' house because he felt very comfortable there. Monica and Fab also lived with my parents for about a year while they were waiting for their house to be ready.
When was that?
When Jessica was born.
Okay. And so back to December, early January of 2017. You stayed through the 6th of January, which would have been about a couple of weeks before Fabio was killed, right?
Correct.
Did you have an opportunity when you were living with Fabio and Monica during that time period, the 27th of December through the 6th, to observe their relationship?
Yes, they seemed very happy, like they always did. They were dancing around in the kitchen, they were singing songs. Fab bought us, both my sister and I, gift certificates to a very fancy spa. So my sister and I went one day, and Grant, my husband, Fabio, and all 5 children went out for the day and spent it with the dads.
Did you observe, how much of that trip were you actually with Monica and Fabio? Were you with them?
The entire time.
So from the time you got up in the morning till you went to sleep?
Correct.
Okay. And did you at any time during that trip see Monica going out at night or leaving?
No,
or
never.
Socializing without being with you all and Fabio?
No, never.
And during that entire stay in December and January 2017, did you ever observe any conflict or awkward moments between Fabio and Monica?
Never.
And you said you were also there with your husband Grant
Yes.
and your 3 boys?
I have 2 boys and a daughter.
Okay, and how old were they in December, January?
Oh, of 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me do some math in my head. So they would have been, well, my son now is 28, so 8 years ago he would have been just turning 20. My other son, Matthew, would have been 18, and my daughter would have been 15.
And you all stayed in the
In the home?
Sementilli house with
Correct.
Monica, Fabio, and their 2 girls.
Yes.
During that trip, did you sleep in a particular bedroom at the house?
Yes, we slept in the guest bedroom, which was also Fab's snoring room, as my sister called it. So we slept there, which was right next to the master bedroom.
Okay. And you slept there with your husband?
With my husband, Grant, yes.
And where did your 3 children sleep?
My daughter, I believe, took turns sleeping in either Isabella's room or Jessica's room, and my 2 boys slept in the upstairs. There's an open space, kind of like a family room that had a TV, a bunch of couches and beds, and a little desk area. So they slept there.
At any point during that trip, did you go with Monica to any sports gym or sports area?
Yes, we went to LA Fitness a couple of times. That's not the first time I went with her. I've been there, like I said, on my other trips. We went. But that particular time period during the Christmas break, we went to play racquetball. So the first day I went just Monica and I. We played racquetball. And then the next morning I came home that night and told my kids, you should really come and play. You'd love it. And so the next day my sons came and we played, I believe it was 3 days in a row.
3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And when you were at the gym, do you remember what the gym was called?
It was called LA Fitness.
And while you were playing racquetball, was there ever a time you met someone who was introduced to you as Robert Baker?
I met someone named Rob, which I later came to find out his last name was Baker, but I didn't know his last name at the time.
Tell us how you met Rob.
We were playing, well, the first time I met Rob, Monica still had a personal trainer. I believe his name was Matt. And she brought me to the gym and we did a personal training session with Matt. And then we went to the racquetball court area and played racquetball. And she introduced me to Rob as the coordinator, racquetball coach, and said I should play with him because he's really good. So I did.
At that time, do you remember which day of your trip those 3 days were?
I don't remember.
Towards the beginning, middle, or end?
It was like in the middle because there was very little to do between, Boxing Day and New Year's Eve. So it was somewhere in there. And I remember that because on the last day, we went the third day, I asked Robert if I would see him at the New Year's Eve party. And he laughed and said, no, I'm not coming. And I said, oh, why? And he answered, because I don't drink anymore.
Did you play racquetball with Rob at any point in your trip?
Yes, I played, not the first day. I don't think I played on the first day we went, but the second and third day we went.
At that time, did you have any idea or belief that your sister Monica was in any kind of intimate relationship with Rob?
Absolutely not. There was nothing unusual between them, and I did not get any feeling or vibe at all.
At any time during those 3 days, did you see Rob all 3 days or just one or two of them?
I think only two of the days.
At any time, did you see your sister and Rob go off whispering or appear to be secretive in any way?
No. My boys also played racquetball with Rob.
Separately?
Yes, because you play in twos. So Rob and Eric, and then Rob and Matthew would play. And I played with Robert.
And then did you see Rob any time after that before Fabio was murdered?
No.
After that, were you with your sister for those days that you continued to be in LA, however many they were from the middle to when you left on the 6th?
Yes, every day.
Were there any days that your sister was gone for any period of time from your presence?
No, we even went grocery shopping together. I went to Ralph's. I helped her do the groceries. We would come home. We'd make dinner together. I don't recall any time when I wasn't with her.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you celebrated New Year's Eve with Monica and Fabio?
Yes.
Tell us about that. Who was there for that celebration?
So on New Year's Eve, it was my family, so myself, Grant, my 3 children, Monica, Fab, Isabella, Jessica, their neighbor and friend, Deborah and Mike, and their, I believe, their son, Max. Jessica's boyfriend at the time, I don't remember his name, Ernie and his wife, Emily.
Is that Ernie Valerano?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you know who Ernie was?
Yes, I know he was a friend of Fab's.
A friend of Fabio's?
A friend of Fabio's, yes. And Nick, I don't know his last name, also a friend of Fabio's.
Is that, if I said Nick Berardi,
yes,
does that sound
that's
familiar?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And his girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
And then after dinner, racquetball friends came. So I met Elise, I don't know her name, and her husband, I forget his name. Okay. I met Faye and her husband, I don't remember his name.
Okay. And during that evening, Ms. Crescentini, did you have an opportunity to observe how Monica and Fabio were interacting?
Yeah, they were great. They were entertaining the whole group. We had, my sister and I went and got karaoke. So Fab was busy putting on the karaoke songs and we were all singing. And it was raining kind of that night and cool. So we were all under the covered part of the patio where he usually sits, and the TV's right there. So we were having a good time.
And that was a favored area that you were well aware of?
Yes. He had his own chair. We knew where he would be all the time. He sat in his chair, smoked a cigar, watched his TV, extremely loud, and would be on the phone. He just had a very bubbly, outgoing personality.
Did you know anyone who had any conflict with Fabio?
I don't know of anyone. He was well loved. I don't know of anybody who would have done that.
So you fly back to Canada on the 6th. Did you have any custom or regular routine with your communication with your sister?
Yes, so because I work, I teach, the minute I get home, I usually get home Toronto time around 5:30. And just before I start dinner, I would go outside, grab a glass of wine, sit on the patio, call my sister, or she would call me, always around that time, because she knew I was home. When I'm at school, I don't have my phone, so we don't talk during the day. But the minute I get home, and Toronto's 3 hours ahead, so if I get home at 5:30, it's like 2:30 here, and we would talk, sometimes 2-3 times a night, almost every day.
Okay. And at that time in January, let's say January 6th to January 23rd, were you also regularly communicating with Monica by text?
Yes, we text each other, we would call each other, depended.
How often would you be texting with Monica during this period?
Usually we would call each other because she knew I would be home at certain times. But if she didn't answer, I would text and say, hey, where are you? Give me a call when you're home, stuff like that. And she would do the same.
When you would text with Monica, would you use any particular app frequently to communicate with her?
Yeah, I used WhatsApp because it's free.
Is WhatsApp an encrypted app?
I believe it's an encrypted app, but it's free for anybody, and you could use it to make long-distance calls as long as you have Wi-Fi.
Is the fact that it's encrypted, was that any part of you using that app?
No, the fact that it was free for me to call my sister in the States is why I used it. And people in Italy, you could use it anywhere, internationally.
Were you aware that in December of 2016, whether Monica had the WhatsApp app?
Yes, she had the WhatsApp app.
How long had you communicated with Monica on WhatsApp as of December 2016 using specifically WhatsApp?
I'm sorry, how long?
Yeah, how many months, how many days, or
As soon as I got my iPhone, I downloaded it. So 2 years maybe? I don't know. Since I've had an iPhone, we've done it, and I've had an iPhone for a very long time.
And when you say we've done it, you were communicating with Monica for that full time, both on her iPhone and WhatsApp?
Yes, go back and forth, depending where I was. If I was at home or in the car or at someone's house, I would use WhatsApp.
And you would also use your iPhone messaging to communicate
Correct.
with Monica?
Yes.
I'd like to draw your attention, unfortunately, to the day that you learned Fabio had been murdered, the 23rd of January, 2017. Had you spoken to Monica on the 23rd at all?
Yes.
During the day?
Yes, when I got home from work, which again was around 5:30, I grabbed a glass of wine and I went on the patio in the middle of winter to have a cigarette, and I called her and she would do the same. She'd grab a glass of wine, grab a cigarette, and we talked. And we talked about our day, what was going on.
Let me stop you just for a second.
Sure.
You have a specific memory of being on the phone with Monica on the 23rd of January 2017?
Yes.
And you believe that was at what time? The best you can recall.
Toronto time, between 5 and 5:30. So here, 2 and 2:30.
Okay.
And when I spoke to her, I remember hearing her say goodbye to the cleaning lady. She said, the cleaning lady's here, she's just leaving. I heard her walk through the kitchen and open the patio door because it squeaks. And I heard the TV blaring and her say to Fabio, is it possible this TV has to be this loud? And which is something she would always say to him because it was very loud. And I screamed out and said, say hi to Fab for me. And he screamed back, hi, Anna, because that's what he used to call me.
He called you what?
Anna.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was something you heard on the 23rd?
Yes.
Okay.
And I asked her, oh, he's home today? And she said, yeah, he's sitting outside. He's on doing some calls and watching TV, but this TV's so loud, the whole neighborhood could hear it.
Was Fabio usually at work or always at home when you called? If you know, when you called her or she called you during the day?
You may have.
When I called her, he was at work, usually.
And is it your testimony that you specifically recall a discussion about Fabio being home that day, or you just heard his voice?
No, like I said, I heard her open the door, I heard the TV, and I heard her say, Fab, is it possible that the TV's so loud? And then I said, say hi to Fab for me, and he said, hi, Anna. And she closed the door, and that's how come I remember.
Do you recall anything else that Monica talked to you about during that phone call?
Yeah, I was getting ready to go because my kids were looking at me through the patio door making a motion like this because they were hungry. And I said, okay, Mo, I have to go in. I got to get dinner started. These kids are starving. Call me when you're done dinner. And she said, yeah, I have to go to Ralph's because Fab wants what we call fatina, which are veal cutlets, and I need to buy some stuff. And I said, okay, call me when you're starting to get dinner ready, because by then I would have finished dinner, and we can talk again. And she said she would.
Did Monica on the call seem rushed at all, or different from when you usually spoke to her?
Not at all. She seemed 100% herself.
Did you say it was you who told her you had to go while you were speaking on the phone?
That's correct. I said I had to go because my kids were hungry. I had to make dinner. And she said, okay, yes, I have to go to Fab wants fatina for dinner. I need to go buy some stuff.
And you both hung up the call?
And we hung up knowing that she would call me back. She usually, when we said that, when I said, okay, call me later when you're getting dinner ready, I was expecting a call around 7:30. And instead I got one at 8.
Okay. Let's talk about that briefly. How did you learn that Fabio had been murdered?
I went to lay down on the couch after dinner while my husband was cleaning up, and I left my cell phone on the kitchen counter. It started to ring, and I said to my husband, can you answer it? It's probably my sister. So he answered it in a goofy voice, because he goofed around with my sister all the time. And he went, hello, something like that, like very weird answer. And then he held the phone to his ear and his mouth open, and he just went, what? What are you talking about? And I said to him, stop fooling around, just give me the phone. I knew it was my sister. And he passed the phone to me in shock, and all I could hear was Jessica screaming and crying, hysterical, saying, my father's dead, they killed him, he's dead. And I didn't understand. I'm like, what happened? What's going on? And she was just crying hysterically. And I said, who's there? Pass me to someone. Where's your mom? And she said, my mom's here. She can't talk. And she passed the phone to Deborah. And Deborah is the one who told me what happened.
Okay. Deborah was who to you? Did you know a Deborah?
Yes, I've met Deborah almost, since my sister and Fab moved there and lived on Nogales Street, she was a neighbor there, and that was one of the first friendships that Fab and my sister made. So every time I went to California, I always saw Deb and Mike.
And that was Deborah Obad and her husband Mike?
Correct.
Okay. And what did you do upon learning this and speaking with Jessica, if anything?
With speaking with Jessica or Deborah?
I'm sorry, Deborah.
When I spoke to Deborah, I learned that Fab was stabbed, that he died, that Bella found him, that there was nothing that the paramedics could do, that police were there, and Monica and the girls were standing in the driveway, and Monica didn't want to leave. And I asked to speak to Monica, but Deborah told me that she couldn't talk. She couldn't come to the phone. She's in no condition to talk. She can't put words together. And I said, okay, please just tell her I'm going to come immediately, and Grant's getting a flight out for me. I'll be there soon. Just tell her I'll be there soon. And Deborah asked me if I was going to tell my parents, and I said, I'm driving there right now. It's not a phone call you want to make. So I hung up with Deborah. We had agreed that I would call her the minute I knew of flight information. I jumped in my car and I drove to my mom's house, and I had to break the news to my parents, and my mom collapsed. I'm sorry. My mom collapsed on the floor. My dad and I picked her up, put her on the couch, and immediately she said, I want to talk to her. I want to talk to the girls. So I said, okay, Grant's working on getting us a flight. We're going to try to leave tonight. We called Deborah back because my mom and I both wanted to make sure Monica was okay and Bella was okay. And so we called Deborah back, and I said, Grant's still working on it. We had talked in between, and he had told me that couldn't find any flights leaving that night. He was going to try to see the earliest flight in the morning for my mom and I. And I gave her that information, and I said, as soon as I have my flight booked, I will call you and tell you what time we land, but it'll probably be in the morning. And she said, don't worry, somebody will come and pick you up. And someone will come and pick you up. And then I asked to speak to Monica, and my mom, I had the phone to my ear, and my mom, her head and my head were together on the phone, and all we could hear was her crying hysterically. And we just screamed, be strong, we're coming, we're on our way. We'll be there in the morning, And then Deborah took the phone back and said, I made Deborah promise not to leave them alone there because we didn't know anybody here. I said, please don't leave the girls alone. And she said, I promise you I'll take them all back to my house until you get here. And I said, okay. So I hung up. And that was my conversation with Deborah, and the only time that I spoke to my mom, spoke to my sister. Later on, I believe Deborah called me again to tell me they were across the street at a neighbor's house. And I think I spoke to Jessica. I don't remember, but I spoke to Deb, and she told me that they were across the street in the neighbor's house, and Monica was just sitting on the couch looking out the window, calling out for Fab.
You then made arrangements and got down to Los Angeles?
Yes, my husband got us tickets for the first flight in the morning. We came immediately and got a direct flight. I think we landed around lunchtime here.
Okay,
And
that was on the 24th of January,
24th of
the
January.
day after Fabio was killed?
Correct. I also called Marco that night because I didn't have the heart to call Marilla. I didn't know if she knew. So I called Marco, and when he answered the phone, I just heard Marilla in the background wailing. And I said, I guess you heard the news. We're leaving. My mom and I are leaving in the morning. And he had asked if we should maybe wait and all go together. And I said, I'm not waiting. I'm going now. I can't leave my sister and the girls there alone. And my mom feels the same way.
Let me understand. So in that conversation with Marco, he asked you to wait to leave for Los Angeles?
Yeah, so that we could all go together.
Did they not go with you the next day?
My mom and I flew on the first flight out.
Okay.
I'm not sure when they arrived, if it was the 24th or the 25th.
Okay. So you all flew out the next day. Did you go straight to the house?
Straight to the
Or did you
house.
go somewhere else?
So Mike, Deborah's husband, and Jessica came to pick me up. We drove straight to Monica and Fab's house. There was a woman who I later found out recognized as Elise, was standing in the street talking to media. There was media everywhere. The gates opened, we pulled in, and Mike made a comment like, what is that crazy lady doing talking to the media? And immediately Nick, Fab's friend, came out and grabbed her and said, we said we weren't going to speak to the media, and pulled her in. I didn't recognize her immediately because I could really care less about her. My goal was to see my sister and the girls. And when my mom and I ran into the house, we found my sister on the couch, hugging a gray sweater that belonged to Fabio and rocking. Tears pouring down her face. She had toilet paper and Kleenex all around her. And when we tried to talk to her, she wasn't even making eye contact with us. She just kept holding this sweater saying, I don't know why I didn't fix it. And we were like trying to figure out what she was talking about. And then she told us there was a hole in it and he had asked her to sew up the hole and she didn't get to it. And my mom offered to take the sweater and said, I'll fix it. And she said, no, I don't want anyone else to touch it. It still smells like him. And she stayed with that sweater till the wake and even after.
Did you were with your mom when you
Yes.
got to the house?
Yes.
And you were both with Monica from the time you got to the house through when?
Until we all came back to Canada with Fab's body. So that
A
would have
week
been the
later?
30th, yeah.
Okay. So when you got to the house, was there a time at which Morella and Marco and her family, Fabio's family, came?
Yes, but I don't think it was the 24th. I think they came like the 25th, and it was a staggered entry. Like not everybody came at the same time. But it was,
Okay.
Do you want to know who came?
Well, let's start with, did Morella come?
Yes.
Okay. And from the day she got there, if that was, you think the next day?
I think it was the next day.
Okay. From the day she got there, did you and Monica and Morella spend a lot of time together that next week through when you say you went back to Canada
Yes,
for
so
Fabio's burial?
Morella and all her family stayed at a hotel close by, but they came straight to the house every morning and stayed until night.
Stayed until nighttime?
Stayed until nighttime.
And
And Fab's mom was also there.
were you staying at a hotel or where were you staying?
I was staying at the house and I slept in the same bed with my sister.
Okay. And during the time that Morella got there, let's say that first day, can you describe how Monica was, her demeanor, how she was acting?
She was clearly in shock. We had actually called her family doctor and he came to do a house call. And he prescribed her something and told us that she is clearly in shock.
Assistant.
Okay. Can
And-
you describe
Describe Monica?
what she looked like, what her demeanor was?
Sure.
Second.
You
Can I answer? Okay.
Yes.
She was in her gray robe the whole time, very rarely changed out of it. Tears were always streaming down her face, even though she wasn't like sobbing hysterically. There were always tears going down her face. Her nose was always running. She sat outside with me most days and Morella. she created like a little shrine where Fab used to sit and put a, I don't know if it was Monica or who did, but somebody put a hat and his favorite cigar and his favorite tequila next to there. And so we all sat around this chair and she would just stare at it, holding this gray sweater, tears coming down. She really couldn't put together a sentence for the first day or so till she started actually talking. And she never really told me what happened. I heard it from Jessica and Isabella because she just couldn't even bring herself to describe what she saw.
That first day Morella got there, or even the second or third day, was there ever a time that you observed Monica conducting a tour of the crime scene, of the place where Fabio had been murdered, or talking about what had been found or not found by the police?
I never remember her doing anything of the sort.
Was there ever a time during that day that Morella got there that you observed Monica giving away Fabio's personal things?
The only time I saw my sister give anything away was the Rolex watch that Fab had on. She had told me that she wanted to give that to Luigi and wanted to make sure Luigi got that because Fabio would want his son to have that. And so she gave Luigi that. And the only other time I remember any talk of taking stuff that belonged to Fabio was when they were choosing what Fabio was going to wear in the casket. And they were deciding between suits, which suit should he wear, the red one, the blue one, the gray one, his favorite hat, how they called him Big Daddy. And at that time, I think my sister said to the nephews and Luigi, if you would like to take a piece of clothing or something to remember Fabio by, please go ahead and feel free to do so. She wasn't giving away his stuff. She was offering a memento for them to take back to Canada if they
And
wanted
did you
something.
personally observe this?
Yes.
And did you observe any of Morella or any of her family members asking for any items that they, after she offered this?
They didn't ask. They just went in and they came out. I think someone took a hat and someone took a scarf, someone took a jacket. I really wasn't paying attention to what they took, but I know they did take stuff.
Okay. During the week after you got there, did you stay every night with Monica at the house?
Every night.
And during the day, were you there all the time with Monica?
All day.
Okay. Would she leave for any reason, for any period of time?
Not without me.
And during that week, was there anything, you talked about her crying and getting a sedative or whatever it was from the doctor. Did you ever, was there anything unusual about her self-care or hygiene that you noticed that week that was different in any way from how Monica usually kept herself?
Yes, I would have to force her to take a shower. I would have to walk her to the bathroom, open the shower door, turn on the shower, tell her to take a shower, tell her to brush her teeth. We would try to force feed her because she wasn't eating, but she was drinking wine and she was smoking a lot. But we all were. I was, Morella was, we were all outside with her, and we all did the same thing.
At some point during that week, did you and Monica and Morella arrange for a funeral home and a casket for Fabio?
Yes, we called around and we found a funeral home. We went, the three of us together, to pick out the casket. Morella picked out the blue one. silver medal one.
Was there a discussion while you were there about how Fabio would be buried, whether he would be buried or cremated?
When I was there, the only conversation that I remember having was my sister coming out. Luigi was present, Isabella, Jessica, Morella, myself, and Morella's mom, Maria. And Monica came out and said, your dad had always told me that he wanted to be cremated, but I don't know how you guys feel about it. So you're his children, you guys should decide. And they all decided that he should be cremated. And I remember this conversation because Fabio's mom, who had the dementia or Alzheimer's, I'm not sure which one, she said to Morella in Italian, but maybe there's a needle that we could give him that could bring him back to life. And Morella said, oh, really, Mom? Okay, let me ask Vanessa, because her daughter Vanessa was in medical school. And then she later said, no, Mom, there is no such needle. So that's why I remember the conversation about the cremation.
Did you ever hear during that whole time that you observed or heard this conversation, anyone say that Fabio would not want to be cremated?
Never.
And when you say, I think you referred to the children deciding whether he would be cremated, was that Jessica and Bella and Luigi?
Correct.
And was there any disagreement at all between them as to what they decided?
Objection, speculation.
Did you
As
hear?
form sustained.
Did you hear during that conversation between when it was brought up and when it was decided, any conversation about a disagreement or objection to Fabio being cremated?
I did not even know that was a thing, that anybody was upset about that. That never came up.
And when you say that never came up, even after
Even
that
after.
conversation?
Yes.
And then at the end of that week, Sunday, that's when the funeral home and viewing took place?
I believe it was a Sunday, yes.
Okay. And you all then went back for a wake or some kind of reception at the Sementilli home?
Correct.
And were you there?
Yes.
Can you tell us about Monica? Did she attend the viewing and at the funeral home?
Yes, so we all went to the funeral home together. It was the first time that we were going to see Fab. The casket was open. She was very distraught, crying. Jessie didn't want to look at the casket, but she did. Everybody was very emotional. I walked my sister over to the casket. She placed her hand on Fab's shoulder. She said a few things. I don't remember exactly what she said. I love you. I miss you. Why did this happen to you?
Objection, hearsay, and relevance.
Horrible.
Did she say anything else
And-
that you recall?
No, because she was crying. Mumbling words, crying. Then we left there. We went home. The caterer, whoever it was starting to set up the tables in the backyard. So she said, I'm going to put on my robe and lay down for a bit. And she did that. And she said, call me when people start coming. So she did that. And then when people came, I went to call her. I told her, okay, people are coming. You need to get up. And she got up and got dressed, but like wore running shoes, and I don't even remember what she wore, but it was nothing fancy. It wasn't her robe, though. She changed out of her robe. She was dressed in the morning, came home, changed into her robe and pajamas, laid down. And then when I told her people were coming, she got up, got dressed, and came out.
When you got home with Monica, was the reception already being set up? You mentioned about tables and,
Yeah, they were setting up tables and chairs, and there were some people around from the restaurant or a caterer getting stuff ready.
do you know who made those arrangements or who organized it?
I think it was the company, Wella or Cody, and with maybe Morella suggested it. I don't know. I know I didn't suggest it, but they did, and they had this company come in, and they did a wonderful job.
Why do you think Morella suggested it or might have suggested it?
Well, I only
Speculation.
This time?
Did you see Morella during this day or in the previous days interacting in any way with Fabio's company to make arrangements for any reception?
yes. At this time, Morella
Objection, non-responsive.
So ruled.
Morella was busy writing the obituary, and she asked us what did we think about this obituary. She was busy calling Toronto, trying to make arrangements in Toronto. She booked a hall in Toronto to have this ginormous party for when Fabio had his viewing in Toronto. She was dealing with the menu with Fab's co-workers. She had them drive her and her family back and forth from the hotel to the house, back to the hotel at night. And I didn't think this was a problem until Alicia, Fabio's personal assistant, came to me.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained.
Was there something unusual that made you think it was a problem at some point that occurred?
Yes, because
Objection, relevance.
I'll hear it. It's overruled.
Yes, because Alicia, Fabio's assistant, came to me and said that Morella's being a little bit too demanding and she'd rather deal with me because I seem more calm.
Objection to this hearsay.
That's sustained.
Move to stretch.
Very good.
Did you learn that members of Fabio's company believed that Morella was being demanding
Objection.
about
hearsay.
arranging for things?
Sustained.
Did you come to understand that Alicia Truesdale believed that Morella was being demanding?
Same objection.
It's the same thing, counsel. Sustained.
Thank you. Ma'am, at some point during the week between Fabio's death and this reception, did any members of Fabio's company come to the house to speak with Monica?
Yes, I should point out that during that whole week, it was a revolving door at Monica and Fab's house. There were lots of people coming and going, but from
Objection, non-responsive.
It is not responsive.
Were you there that
Stricken.
whole week?
yes,
And you were there both during the days and into the evenings?
yes,
And at some point, did you see and meet members of Fabio's company who came to the house?
yes.
Do you remember which day they came to the house?
No,
And when they came over, who came over?
Henry from HR, Alicia Truesdale, and there was another woman, but I don't remember her name.
Okay.
His boss Sal and his wife.
Okay. And do you know, did you have an understanding why they were coming over?
To give condolences. Henry came to talk about what they were going to do for Monica, what the company would do for Monica, and he spoke to her in private.
Okay, before he spoke to her in private, had you ever heard your sister ask about what she was getting from Fabio's benefits or life insurance prior to the time that these folks came over from the company?
No, I did not.
And when they came over from the company, Sal and Henry, did you sit down with Monica and Sal or Henry from the company?
No, I never sat down with them.
Okay. At some point during the time they were there, did anyone ask to speak to Monica privately?
Henry asked to speak to Monica privately.
Okay. And that was the same day he came over?
Yes.
And did you observe what Monica did in response to Henry asking to speak to her privately?
They went to her bedroom and they spoke privately in there.
At any time while they were meeting, did you or Morella go into the bedroom and sit with them?
No.
At any time while Henry or Sal were there, did you and Morella go into the living room or dining room and sit with Henry and Monica?
I believe we were already sitting at the dining room table when Henry and Monica came out.
Before Henry and Monica went in, was there ever a discussion in front of you and Morella with Monica present about life insurance or benefits or stock options or anything like that?
No, there,
Objection as to Morella.
So roll.
no.
Do you have a distinct memory of that?
I don't actually. I remember him coming out, and I don't remember Monica ever asking anything. I remember Henry coming out and saying he took good care of. We're going to take good care of her.
Okay. And after they came out, did you learn for the first time that the company was offering to continue Fabio's salary for 6 months?
Correct. I knew they were going to pay up until June.
Okay. How did you learn that?
I think it might have been Henry that told me.
And that was after they came out of the room?
Yes.
At that same day, was there ever a time that you heard any discussion of stock options or life insurance from Henry or anyone else at the company?
No.
And did Monica at any time during that day ever say anything about her wanting a lawyer because she thought she might be screwed?
Absolutely not.
Did she ever during that day that the company members were there ever bring up the subject of getting a lawyer?
No.
Did you return with Monica after the wake to Canada?
Yes. I didn't return with her. I came the next day.
Okay. And when did she return?
She returned on February 8th.
Okay. And before she returned, were you there during the rest of the wake on the 29th?
Yes.
Were you with Monica the whole time, or were you separated at times from Monica?
The night of the wake?
Yes.
For the majority of the night, I was right beside her. But I mean, I did get up and go talk to some of the guests that were there. But I could see her sitting on the patio furniture.
Was there a time that you observed Monica greet or have any conversation with Rob Baker?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So Robert Baker came into the doorway. He hugged her. They were standing there. It looked to me like he was whispering something to her, but she was not answering. I said, "Hi, are you coming to the back?" And they said, "Yes, we're coming." And then I went into the kitchen and I told my mom, "Keep an eye out, make sure she comes out." And then Deborah, I believe it was Deborah, came and said, "I don't like that guy. There's something going on." And so she got Morella and they went inside.
Okay. When you say that you observed them go out, what did you mean by that? Outside?
Outside onto the patio.
Okay. And were you out on the patio as well?
Yeah, so he came in through the front door. I said, "Hi, how are you? Are you coming out to the patio?" And they said, "We'll be there in a minute." So I walked out to the patio. Deborah saw Rob, said, "I don't like that guy." And then she went to go talk to Morella, and they both went inside. I went outside.
How long was this whole period, if you remember?
To be honest, I don't remember, but it wasn't very long.
Okay. And did you ever see your mom confront Rob?
I saw my mom come out and say to him, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And to which he responded, "I'm a friend and I'm consoling her."
And was there any other discussion that you heard?
I think at one point my mom told him to leave.
Did he leave?
Not right away.
Okay. What did he do?
I think he came out to the fire pit and opened a beer.
Did you see him do that?
I saw him open the beer,
Where was Monica at this time?
sitting beside me on the red couch, the red patio couch.
And that night, did you stay with Monica?
Yes,
And did you stay in the same room that night?
yes.
And can you describe for us Monica's demeanor before you went to bed? Do you remember what time you both went to sleep?
I don't remember what time it was, but I know that she was physically exhausted. She sat on the edge of the bed. I went into the bathroom to wash my face and get ready for bed. And when I came out, she was sitting on the edge of the bed, hysterically crying. I ran in, got her some toilet paper because I couldn't find a box of tissues. I grabbed toilet paper, brought out a roll. We sat on the edge of the bed. I hugged her. I told her the hard part's over. You know, now we'll get through this together. I'm here for you. She said, "I just want to sleep so that he can come to me in my dreams. I want to see him in my dreams."
And then the next day or the day after, Monica flew back with Fabio's body. They shipped Fabio back to Canada for his burial?
Yes,
Okay. And Monica went earlier than you went back, or?
no, we went together.
You went together
Yes.
back to Canada. And then there was a burial in Canada, and Monica and the girls were all there for that?
There was a viewing in Canada, and then, I don't know what you mean by burial, they put the ashes in a tomb.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was a Sementilli family member who had offered?
Yes, she very graciously offered the temporary use of a crypt, I guess you call it, a tomb.
Okay. Now, the next time you were with Monica and Fabio and Monica's daughters was when you flew back to Los Angeles in February?
Correct. I left the very next day, February 9th.
Okay. And you again stayed with with Monica and Jessica and Bella?
Yes.
Okay. And during that trip in February 9th, were you there for more than a couple of days, or were you there for an extended period?
I was there until Family Day, which in Canada, I think that year was the 20th.
So you were there from February 9th to the 20th?
Correct.
And you stayed at the house the whole time?
Yes.
Were you with Monica throughout that period?
Yes.
And that was during the day and in the evenings?
Correct.
Okay. And during that period, was there ever a time that Monica Sementilli brought up the subject of life insurance or stock options or money benefits having to do with what Fabio had at his company?
Monica told me that Fab did not have a will, and I suggested that she seek an estate lawyer.
You suggested to her that she seek an
Correct.
estate lawyer.
And I said, that's why I'm here to help you go through all these things. And we could
Okay.
figure it out together.
And how did she respond to that suggestion?
She said she didn't know any estate lawyers. So then I said to her, well, how about you call your chartered accountant, Joel, and ask him if he knows any estate lawyers, which we did. And he did, and he recommended Jeff Sidney.
Did you go with her to that Well, did she ever make an appointment?
Yes, she made an appointment, and I went with her to the appointment. I did not go in the room, although she did invite me in the room. I said, no, that's your personal financial information. I don't need to know that. I'm here if you need me.
Was there ever a time during that trip that Jeff Sidney or any attorney came to the house to speak to Monica?
From what I recall, we just went to his office. I don't recall any other lawyer coming to the house.
And did you ever go to any more appointments with the lawyer?
I believe it was just that one time, and then he started the paperwork because Fab didn't have a will to go through probate or something like that. And then there were phone calls, but I don't believe we went there again.
During that first week you were there and when you came back on the 9th, did you personally observe Monica ever call the police to speak to the police about their investigation?
Yes, we called almost every day
Okay.
for the first week. We had a lot of questions.
Tell me about that. You personally were on calls with Monica?
Yes, Monica would call the detectives in front of me. On one occasion, that first week, I called Detective Parchnell to ask if it was safe for us to be in the house.
Okay. In that conversation, what did Detective Parshall tell you?
Objection, hearsay.
You can answer.
Okay. He told me that it's perfectly safe to stay in the house because they believe it was a burglary, and burglars don't strike twice in the same spot, especially with all the media attention we've got. I think he said lightning doesn't strike twice.
And the detective personally told you that directly?
Yes, and Monica was in the kitchen with me, and I can't remember if I was on speakerphone or I just held the phone out so she could hear as well.
In any of that conversation, did Monica speak to Detective Parshall?
You mean when I called that day?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you ever hear Monica speak to Detective Parshall?
Yes.
When did you hear that?
The day after he passed away, almost every other day that I was there, she would call.
And did you ever hear what she was talking about when she spoke to Detective Parshall?
She wanted to know if there were any leads in the case, what's happening, who did this, why do they think they did this, and was it safe to stay in the house?
And did you hear any of the conversations of when Detective Parshall answered Monica?
I didn't hear his answers.
And did you ever hear Monica say anything during January or February through the 20th, 18th or 20th to the police about life insurance or money or finances?
The only time I remember her asking the police about life insurance or policy money is when she found out that Luigi received his share, and she was wondering why her girls and herself didn't get it.
And when was that, if you recall?
I don't remember.
Okay. So after you were there through the 20th, or the 18th, let's say, if you don't remember precisely, did you and Monica ever come back to Canada that month?
Yes, she came back for the 1 month mass.
Okay. And that was towards the end of February?
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall where Monica stayed during that time?
Monica and the girls stayed with my mother.
And during the time she was there, was there ever an occasion that you and Monica and Morella and your cousins went to a dinner at a restaurant?
Yes, we went to a restaurant in town, Woodbridge.
showing you what's been marked as People's 107. Do you recognize who's in this picture?
Yes, that's my sister, my cousin Marcella, myself, and Morella.
Okay. And is this the dinner that you recall on the 1-month anniversary of Fabio's death, where there was going to be also a mass in Canada?
Yes, but I don't know why it says April 13.
Okay. So you recall this happening towards the end of February, beginning of March?
I do.
Okay. Your Honor, may I mark for identification a 1-page copy of a photograph with Ms. Crescentini and Monica Sementilli as Defense 626?
Yes.
Thank you. Showing you another photograph. Is this a photograph of the same dinner that you identified as occurring when Monica was up for the 1-month mass in late February, early March 2007?
Yes, it is.
And showing you the timestamp information on the photo, does that look like it reflects the actual date that that dinner occurred?
Yes, it does.
And was that March 2nd, 2017, that you were with Morella Rota, right?
Yes.
And your cousins?
It looks like the same place.
Okay. When you say the same place, I notice that Monica is in what looks to be a black winter coat. Is that Monica in the picture? Did she have a black winter coat on that night?
Yeah, she did.
Okay. And you see yourself in that picture?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And who are the other people in the picture?
So the blonde next to Monica is my cousin Marcella, and the brunette next to me is my cousin Nina.
Okay. And I see in the background there's a woman with reddish hair on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, does that accurately represent the dinner you were discussing earlier?
Yes,
The
that's,
picture?
yes.
And I see in the photograph that was presented to you prior, do you see, is that the same woman you saw in the other photograph?
Yes, it is.
And Monica is in the black coat?
Correct.
And Morella is on the right?
Correct.
And that was the same dinner?
That's correct. My cousin Nina came later.
At any time during that dinner, did Monica ever bring up the subject of life insurance or getting life insurance or money?
She never brought it up.
And while you were with her on that trip for the 1-month mass, did she ever in your presence talk about life insurance or wanting life insurance or being dissatisfied in any way that she didn't have life insurance?
At that dinner,
Yes.
I believe my cousins asked her what's going on with the case, and we still said had no leads, and they asked her, well, what's going on with the insurance? And she said, I don't have any answers. And that was it. Most of the night we talked about Fab, memories of Fab, remember the time when. We talked about where they were, Monica and Fab were planning to go or where they would have liked to go together. And we had said to my sister, okay, in time, we will all go together to those places.
After Fabio's death, And when you were with Monica on the 1-month anniversary and before in February, did you start coming to Los Angeles regularly?
Sorry, can you repeat the dates? When?
After, let's say, March 2nd, when you were up there, did you leave March 2nd, or, I mean, did Monica leave March 2nd or the next day?
I'm not sure when she left because
Okay.
she came down for, it was a short trip, that one, just for
Okay.
the mass. So I think she left within a few days of that night. And the next time I saw her, my daughter went in March break, and I believe I saw her Monica came back to Toronto for Easter. Yeah, she came back for Easter. She came back for the Lifetime Achievement Award that Fab received, that she was accepting in his honor in the first weeks of June.
And then she was arrested.
And then she was arrested 2 days after that.
Okay. Ma'am, you and your sister, when you were not visiting Los Angeles, would you continue to talk or text on a regular basis?
Yes.
In any of the text messages you had with Monica, did she ever complain about life insurance or not getting money?
I mean, there was a time when I would ask her about, well, how come you're not getting your money? Did you get your life insurance yet? And she would say, no, I don't know what's taking so long. And I would tell her, well, that's not right. Like, what's taking so long? You should find out. Why don't you call the police and ask them? I said that. My mom said that. My husband Grant told her that. Marco told her that. Morella told her that. We couldn't understand why she wasn't receiving this life insurance policy. And at that time, we also knew that Fab's company was going to stop paying, giving his salary to them. So my sister didn't have a job. How are they going to live in that house and pay for all their bills?
Did you ever at any time see Monica or learn that Monica had been going on any kind of spending spree or buying things that were ridiculously out of character for Monica in purchases of any physical items?
After Fab died?
Yes.
The only thing that I thought was out of the ordinary was when she purchased or financed her car. At the time when she told me, I didn't see the car. She just told me that she leased or financed Ford Mustang, which is not unusual because we all love Mustangs. It was my first car. Fab loved Mustangs. Monica loved Mustangs. When they moved to California, Fab purchased an old red Mustang for Monica to drive around, which was later passed down to his daughter, Jessica. So the fact that it was a Mustang didn't bother me.
Did you come to know that Monica had any issue with Fab's truck, Ford 150?
Yes, I think it was in February when I was there that we were dealing with the Porsche situation, trying to sell that, and to try to figure out what she wanted to do with his F-150.
Okay. And did you personally learn what Monica was wanting to do with the F-150?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Did Monica ever talk to you about what she wanted to do with the F-150?
Same objection.
Did you learn at some point that Monica was unable to keep the lease on the Ford 150?
Objection, leaving.
So rule on that ground, but it is hearsay. Sustained.
Did you ever know what happened to the Ford 150?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, objection. It's going to be based on hearsay.
Sustained.
Well, did you personally learn that from any interaction with Monica about the Ford 150?
Same objection.
Sustained.
When you learned that Monica had purchased a Mustang, did you learn ever that she had purchased any other vehicle?
No.
Did you learn at some point that Bella had been in a traffic accident?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you understand had happened in Bella's traffic accident?
All I remember was that her,
Sustained.
Where did you learn this from?
my sister,
Okay.
There's no question.
Ms. Crescenti, did there come a time that you spoke to Morella Rota or her common-law husband, Marco, about life insurance?
yes.
Did there come a time when Marco reached out to you personally and your husband to discuss his concerns about life